Hi, Lori. Hi, Margaret. I love you too. I look forward to seeing you again in the flesh soon, someday soon. Thanks for dropping by. You're welcome. How are you, Lori? I was thinking about you today, Lori. Just thinking about what you said about in your remarks last night about dealing with pain and how it plays with your mind. And so I should report that my ankle is significantly better as far as pain goes, but still quite sore. And now I have a little bruising tonight, I noticed. So I definitely sprained my ankle in my sleep, which is kind of silly, but shit happens. Pardon my swearing, but that seems like a reasonable thing to say under the circumstances of spraining your ankle in the middle of the night. So I'm just waiting to see if a couple more people show up, because I know that a few people usually come. Kind of a gloomy day in Seattle here, but lots of birds making lots of noises all day. I guess it's supposed to rain tomorrow too, so I felt that kind of gloomy feeling today of the weather, but I'm sure the sunshine will be back soon enough. And there's nothing that is to be done about it, of course. So anyway. Oh, I have a little poem that I wrote down one time. It's a Hafiz poem, and I was just kind of noticing all the tension in the world right now around, our lockdown, if you want to call it that, our quarantine or whatever, and when it's going to end and all of that, and how it is ending in some places. And this little poem says, "How do I listen to others, as if everyone were my master speaking to me his cherished last words?" That's a little poem by Hafiz. I guess it's a poem. How do I listen to others, as if everyone were my master, speaking to me his cherished last words? Which is kind of, I was thinking again about the person who died, that this community that I'm in is trying to come to terms with the death of this person who had some problematic history within the community, but also a lot of friends, and had struggled with addiction. And I have to go turn my pot down, my boiling pot. Hang on one sec. I put some water on to boil, and I was thinking that it would be done by the time I was done with this, but it turns out that it was starting to boil over. Anyways, back to this person who died. And anyway, I was just thinking about, it's kind of cliche, but you never know when you're going to have your last conversation with somebody. And, when you look back on it, how would you want that conversation to look? What would you want it to look like if you knew it was your last conversation? Not that we can be so, always so perfect in our communications with others, but I think about that a lot with my kids. Like, what if something happened to one of them? What would I want my last words to be, or how I treated them? Or, I've thought about that for a long time, ever since they became teenagers, really. And I would hope that my last words would be kind and would be, even if they were, my last words were something serious, they would at least be kind. And so I guess that's what I'm thinking about tonight, is this little poem, which I'll read again because some of you didn't hear it. It's by Hafiz, a Sufi poet. How do I listen to others? As if everyone were my master, speaking to me his cherished last words. I learned a lot when particularly when my oldest child was a teenager, about, even though he was really difficult during those times and angry and took out a lot of his anger on me, that he was teaching me so much about my own reactions and my own behaviors. And I began to see, when I shifted my perspective of seeing him as almost like my enemy in a way, that's a bit strong because he's my child, but somebody that I had to deal with constantly in ways that were a big struggle and difficult, when I kind of shifted that to seeing him as my teacher, as my master, as this poem says, it just changed everything, because it put everything back on me to be kind and merciful and to treat him how I would want to be treated if I were suffering the way he was at that time. And so I think mindfulness and meditation can help us, because it teaches us how to be less reactive, and how to have control over our emotions, and how to experience our emotions but not necessarily react. And so I think it can help us with our behaviors with other people. And of course, getting older helps also. So tonight, that's what I'm thinking about. And so find your way to your place, your meditation location. So possibly onto your back or into a seated position. And just finding your way there in a loving way, treating yourself like you are worthy of being handled in a gentle and caring way as you find your way into this spot where you're going to have this meditative experience this evening. So if you're coming onto your back, making sure that you're set up so that you can take a full advantage of this brief amount of time to be able to not have any discomfort that could be managed. Like if you need something, a pillow or a blanket or something like that. Lori says she has replayed in her head her last conversation with her mother, her father, her brother Mike, and she is never satisfied with the memories of those conversations. I was the last one in this world to speak to them all. It's as if I was supposed to know it was the last, that I was supposed to know what to say, and of course I didn't. Yeah, it's kind of heavy. And not everybody is somebody that we have an easy time with, or maybe that time while that person is before they die isn't easy. So we're not asking ourselves to be perfect. We're just asking ourselves to approach our lives in a more intentional way, and through practicing to be able to have more self-awareness and more awareness of our own reactivity and of the nature of life, which is that we're going to die, and the people around us are going to die someday, and that could happen anytime. So we kind of remain in more closeness with that fact, so that we can live more, be more present to ourselves and others, I think. So now that you're on your back, it's kind of taboo to talk about death, or maybe some people think that it's too dark a subject, but it's, especially right now, I think it's so important that we talk about it, and it's so present around us in the world right now with a pandemic. And I've certainly thought about it more with the people I love, and it's challenging. So just beginning now in your meditative spot to bring yourself into the awareness of your breath. The one thing that is the thing that keeps you alive, your breath. So much awareness about the breath with COVID-19 because of the nature of the illness, and so much discussion of the breath, and some of that's kind of, we're not talking about it quite as much now, which is a good thing. But your breath, of course, being the first thing that you do when you come into the world, is you take an inhale. And the last thing that you do before you die is you exhale all the air out of your body. So bringing yourself into the awareness of your breath, your breath is so robust and hearty and so lively and keeps you alive, and it's so energetic, and it keeps your juices flowing, and just feeling your breath and feeling the powerful life force that it is. And you don't even have to take deeper breaths to do that. You don't have to change your breath. You can just allow your breath to be just as it is, relaxed. Maybe coaxing yourself to be more open in your chest, and to feel the breath coming in and out of your body more completely. Letting your body surrender. If you're sitting, of course, you might feel your lower body surrendering and your spine rising up. And there's a certain surrender that occurs in a seated meditation as well. If you're on your back, it's easier to find this surrendered position because so much of your body is touching the floor. So if you're on your back, feeling the backs of your hands and arms against the floor, which allows your chest to be a little more open, it helps the shoulders to be in a position where the chest is widening, and you might even slightly tuck your shoulder blades underneath. And feeling your rib cage against the floor. Bringing your attention to your face. Your eyes are probably closed. You could also cover your eyes if you find that more relaxing. But just allowing the eyes to settle back into your skull. All of the little muscles behind the eyes softening. You don't have to move your eyes. They can be just quiet like the rest of your body. So the main movement that's happening in your body now is your breath and your breathing. And when your breath comes into your body, it changes the shape of your body. And when it goes out, it also changes the shape. So there's this sense of contracting and expanding happening with the breath. And you might feel that sense in your whole being, in your whole body, this sense of contraction and expansion. And you might even be able to perceive that contraction and expansion are happening within your body, within your mind. They're happening simultaneously. And just noticing the sounds around you, the ambient noises that are in your home or the room that you've chosen to be in for this meditation. Just kind of letting all those sounds circulate around you without overly, concerning yourself with them, so that they're kind of a backdrop for your meditation. And allowing your mouth and jaw to relax. Letting your tongue lay in the bottom of your mouth. Your tongue's like just as much, gets just as much action during the day as your legs do. It's constantly working for you as you're eating and swallowing and talking and chewing. And so you can almost think of your tongue, it's like an athlete, which is kind of silly, but you can think that it needs to rest also. And your tongue starts at the tip of your tongue, going back into your throat, to the root of your tongue. And then the vocal cords as well, and the throat. So just allowing all of that to release tension and muscular effort. You don't need it right now, so let it soften. Letting the jaw be slightly parted and slightly relaxed. And then feeling your breath. So noticing where you feel the breath mostly right now without directing it. So there might be a place where you experience your breath, or where you are currently experiencing it the most. Like you might be experiencing it in your nose. That might be your experience of the breath right now. Or maybe you feel it more in your chest. So kind of noticing, where do you feel the experience of the breath? I mean, obviously the breath is coming into your lungs, so you are experiencing it there, but that might not be your perception. Your perception might be different. We might feel it up in the top part of our chest. We might feel it in a shallow way, like kind of superficial way. So you might begin to sort of coax the breath to be deeper. Or maybe it's not the breath, but it's the experience of the breath to be more of kind of a full experience in your lungs. Like you can feel it in the back of your body, the back of the rib cage, back of the lungs, deeper into the lower parts of your lungs, maybe higher up underneath the collarbones. Oh boy, sleepy tonight. And you might feel it all the way around, rather than just in the front of your chest or in the back. Like your lungs are kind of barrel-shaped, and you can feel it all the way around the surfaces of the lungs and in the inside. So it's a very full experience of the breath. And then begin to feel it deeper in your belly. So invite your breath to come deeper into the bottom of your chest, and then also into the belly. So the air itself is not going into the belly, obviously, but the movement of your body and the experience of the breath is coming deeper into your belly. And there's some movement associated with that. So allow your belly to move in any kind of way that feels good and deep and powerful. So you might experiment with letting the belly expand a bit with the breath, with the inhale. Maybe you can bring it even further down into your pelvis. Your pelvis like a bowl supporting all of the organs in your lower abdomen. So imagine the breath coming all the way down to your pelvic floor, to the muscles of the pelvic floor. And perhaps there's some movement, might be subtle, of those muscles and tissues in your lower abdomen or in your pelvis. Thinking of that lower, those muscles of the pelvic floor are like a diaphragm that moves like your respiratory diaphragm and in some kind of concert with your respiratory diaphragm. So there's a healthy kind of suppleness to the breath as it comes into your body and a lively feeling, but also gentle. And then you might begin to feel your belly for a sustained period of time. Feel your breath behind your navel and just allow it to center there for a few minutes. So experiencing the breath right in the abdomen behind the navel. And you'll have your own unique experience of that. So you might feel like your belly is moving, or it might be deep and subtle and you don't actually feel movement. Just having your own personal experience of your breath in your belly and staying with it, focusing on that. I'm going to read that little poem to you again as you stay with the breath in this way, by Hafiz. How do I listen to others? As if everyone were my master, speaking to me his cherished last words. So bringing your practice of mindfulness, the mindfulness of your own reactivity, of your emotions, of your sustained attention on your breath, of sensation in your body, of the fluctuations of your thoughts. So bringing it out into your interactions with others. So continuing to feel your breath in your belly, behind your navel, staying with that. So your practice is important to have a sustained practice daily and important to bring your practice with you into your life. Like with what I said about my son, like every interaction that you have can be an opportunity for practice or to see the other person as your master, speaking to you his or her cherished last words. And not in a, not in such a way that you feel pressure, because we have to live our lives always, knowing that we might die or somebody might die, but that there's like a middle path through that where we don't forget it, but we don't obsess over it. We just live with it. Feeling your breath, feeling how alive you are, but also how surrendered you are in your body. How sustained your attention has been for the last 15 minutes or so. Keeping that attention on the breath and on your own mind and what comes up for you and how you experience that in your body. You might notice that certain emotions, you can feel them in a certain part of your body. I bet if I said anger, you would have a quick answer for where you might feel anger in your body. So you become more aware of the subtleties of the emotional sensations in your body as they arise. And you bring that with you into your interactions with others. So you're not just practicing for yourself, you're practicing for the world, you're practicing for the others in your life, so that they can also be liberated from your emotions and your reactions and so on, from your anger, from your fear. So if you're on your back and you're going to bring yourself back into your evening, you might start to bring a little bit of movement into your body, maybe taking your breath a little bit more deeply. Letting go of your attention to the breath in the belly and just experiencing your breath however it shows up in your body, and coming back to your seat if you're going to do that now, bringing yourself back to your long spine, perhaps sitting on a cushion or staying right where you are to finish. And so if you're coming back to your seat, finding your long spine and keeping this relaxed face and chest, you might bring your hands palms down on your thighs, and you could bring a small smile to your face, which might be almost imperceptible, but it's more like a kind of like just a gentle feeling of your entire face, including your eyes and your mouth, coming into a smile. A relaxed smile, like your eyes are smiling in a relaxed way. And then you might bring your hands together at your heart. You could bow your head to your own practice, to your own inner teacher, your higher self, or your higher power. Namaste. Thank you so much for showing up, and I'll be here tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. Have a good night.